Welcome back to Shem's Universe. So today, guys, we're going to discuss the Pythagorean life path 7. So there's no karmic number or master number associated with the 7. The 7 is a very, very interesting number. It's brought up in a lot of biblical associations, occult science, and the list definitely goes on. But we're going to discuss specifically the numerological meaning today, according to Pythagoras, and go from there. So this may be a little bit shorter than the typical videos that have had a couple of numbers to go over, but still nonetheless, it's definitely a very interesting number. So I will bring up, we're just specifically talking about the life path. We're not going to go into anything like birth number or name number as of yet. I've realized I've gotten quite a few questions about expression numbers and so forth. I'm going to do the next series next week on expression numbers, so I don't want you guys to worry at all. And I'm going to go through the whole Western numerology, like everything to do with the chart. So whether that's from life path, we're starting with birth number, and I'm going to do the expression number, soul, personality, your transition periods, everything, so you guys get the whole scope of what's going on, according to the Western theory anyways. All right, so life path 7 is governed in the Western numerology by Neptune, in the Eastern it's Ketu, but we're going to get into that another time. Neptune is considered like a water god. So 7s will have a very, very close association with the water, whether or not they go to relax down there, meditate, maybe even in the shower, they might have different sort of visions. It's considered the analyst among most Western numerologists, meaning they like to analyze information. They're able to digest it quite quickly and regurgitate it where it's necessary. So this is a specialist sort of number. If you have life path 7, you probably have an ideal memory, high IQ, I'd estimate. Your intuition and your brain tend to work against one another. So the problem that we have here is the fact that the 7 likes to rely mostly on like thought processes and systems that actually work, in comparison to following just a feeling. 7s are not about feelings, and that's where your weakness comes in. Because as a 7, you have a very, very strong intuition that comes from what would be viewed as out of this world, out of this universe. It's the most lonely number, it's the loner, and because of that, you guys may feel a little bit out of touch with those around you. You might wake up one day as a 7 and just be in a bad mood for no reason and not really know why. And then all of a sudden, later on in the day, something actually occurs that explains your mood. You've already felt the energy from the future. I'd argue that number 7 is the most psychic individual number. I'm not saying that's over master numbers, but I would say 7 is up there for sure. Very, very highly psychic, and when you have 7 even in a compound number, it adds that psychic element. It's very strongly related to the moon, of course, according to the Eastern, but just sticking with the Western, it's associated with the water. The water is all about intuition, feelings, and being able to adapt to situations. So 7s, I've always noticed, are very specific in like finding some sort of specialized occupation. Some examples of people with 7 would be like Jordan Belfort from Wolf of Wall Street. You get Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali, both of which I'd argue Jordan Belfort was definitely just a specialist. I think he may have just had a birth number in 7 though, but this still shows the influence. It still shows that he was able to specialize in something such as sales and bring it to a whole other level, to the point where they had to make a movie about him. Muhammad Ali was like a zealot for boxing. In other words, he had a boxing gym inside of his home, and he actually literally just had a bed and a little small gym that he trained in, and that was like a little hut in the middle of nowhere pretty much. And you have Bruce Lee that was just bullied, did dance, and then did martial arts, and he was very, very successful. He's what made Kung Fu even come to America in the first place. So these individuals use the 7's detail-oriented sort of energy and put it to something. So careers for life path 7s that I would recommend that you're going to have a high degree of attraction to would be scientists, I'd argue writers, entrepreneurial ventures. I would have to vary and see what your numerological chart looks like. The reason being, a lot of 7s tend to be very volatile in nature, like the water, so very changeable. And it's good if you're able to adapt to different circumstances, but when it's not so good is when you're changing your goals and changing your perspectives too often. So like a 7 will start a business and then midway in just feel a different sort of feeling and may end up giving it up just because they're not being maybe mentally stimulated or emotionally satisfied. These are very, very restless people. So that turns into a bit of a weakness. If you can understand this about yourself and most of all accept it, because a lot of sevens are quite stubborn, you're probably listening to this and not accepting that about yourself, but that's how it is. If you're able to, then you can be in the categories of the Bruce Lees, the Muhammad Ali's, and so forth as well. So you have a very high spiritual degree to master, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be religious. What it does mean is that you're going to have some sort of belief system in order to just like cope in the world that we live in. I noticed that sevens need to have faith in something, whether that just be strictly in self or some sort of like belief system as in universal laws, numerology if you're watching this, and any sort of religion whatsoever, or it could just be strictly science. But you need to find something to believe in. I've rarely met a seven that's like just says I'm an atheist and whatever. It doesn't really happen. I'd argue as well, remember guys, Jesus' number was also December 25th, where we celebrate Christmas. The 7 is in the Bible a lot. It took 7 days for God to create reality. So 7 is all about bringing mind into matter. It's a very out of the universe type of number, and its symbolism is really definitely seen everywhere. If you're watching this and you're saying I'm not really much like the 7, I'd argue with you maybe the expression number that you have may deter some of these traits, and also your birth number could definitely play a big role as well. But if you have it as a life path, you need to very, very be careful in the sense that you're going to have to follow some sort of thing that the 7 agrees with in order to achieve the attraction, because that's a thing. No matter what number you have, and I'll argue this for any type of numerology, you have to make sure that what you're doing is in line with your life path. That's your soul's contract here. So if you're going to go and do something that's offbeat to that, you may not have good luck, and you may invariably just fail in it. So you want to watch out for that, definitely. So like I said, you want to focus on things like being a scientist, any sort of writing. But if you find yourself in something like being an athlete, like I said, Muhammad Ali and Bruce Lee were a lot of things, but they had their athletic thing, but they were obviously very, very philosophical. Bruce Lee literally compared himself to the water. He said, be like the water. He understood his element. Muhammad Ali was somebody who went for social reform as well. He stood for something. So when you understand that, you got to figure out what you stand for, what your purpose is here, and what exactly you're trying to manifest while you're here. On a side note, I've noticed that a lot of women that end up in the Life Path 7 category, they end up looking for a husband that can fill the role of having a grand purpose and not doing it within themselves. They go similar to the 2's element of just being the sidekick in that sense. And I'd argue very much against this. For women, this is not going to lead you to satisfaction. You need to find something that you can put your soul into, because the perspectives that you have as a 7 is something beyond our reach right now. You guys are definitely innovators, a little bit different compared to the 1 that innovates aggressively. You guys innovate in regards to expanding people's mind, expanding their consciousness. I'd argue that you guys are the people that can enlighten others through your very, very unique thinking. All right, so don't sell yourself short, but that would be it for the Pythagorean Life Path 7, of course. We're going to get into 8 again tomorrow, and then get 9 done. I want to get the full Life Path series done this week, and then move on to expression numbers, just so I can clear up a few things for you guys, so you can figure out how to actually achieve your life path correctly. All right, but aside from that, guys, please like, subscribe. If you have any disagreements with me, just leave it in the comments for me. I'd love to hear them. Aside from that, holla at me. That's it, guys. Thank you.